Hello and welcome into another CreekCast. I'm your host, Brooks Carter, joined by head football coach Drew Carter, as we are now 58 days away from kickoff for the 2026 season for Coahulla Creek football, as countdown to game one at home against Northwest Whitfield. And we're, 2 weeks before that, we'll actually even get the pads popping for a couple of our preseason matchups coming up. So we're even closer to actual action, but the games don't count for real until 58 days from today. Uh, Touching base here for the first time on a CreekCast since March. Been a busy spring as we finished out our middle school spring practice. We've gotten into summer drills. Already got a couple of 7-on-7s under our belt. We've got a few more of those coming up. Some padded camps. A lot of stuff going on this time of year as we approach about that 50 days until kickoff. The appetite is ripening here, Coach, and I'm sure you're ready to kind of get it going here. It's the last few days before things really start cranking up.
Yeah, as we record just a couple of days before we get into dead week there. And we're kind of in that, it's a weird lull period because June is so hectic for our guys. As you know, we share so many guys with other sports, and that's a great thing. Ironically, some of our best players are usually multi-sport athletes, and it works the other way around too. They've been kind of spread thin through June, and we try to be as easy as we can on them within reason and still get our work done. So I think that usually with that hunger, that appetite you're talking about, usually when we come back from the 4th of July dead week is usually when that kind of stuff starts getting up and going pretty good because those other sports are died down there and it's just football. It won't take but a week or two, and they're pretty tired of working against each other. And then when we get those pads on, hitting each other too. So, real fundamental oriented right now, base offense and defense, getting some special teams fundamentals in place right now. And then, like you said, seeing those things, we're filming as much as we can during our practice times, and filming everything we can during our 7-on-7. So it's been some good gauges for where we are fundamentally in base scheme stuff, and start to give us an idea of what will be in terms of an identity on both sides of the ball too.
Yeah. So, with the 7-on-7s, we've had a couple of them so far, as you mentioned. New starting quarterback this year with Fisher Blankenship taking over, Rising Junior. I know you said you've been impressed with him. He'll be taking over the reins, and it's always a learning curve when you're introducing a new starting quarterback. I know you've talked in the past over the years of us doing this of you as a play caller getting familiar with what your quarterback is comfortable with. I know it's only 2 7-on-7s, but I've been impressed with, there's a few balls. I think there was a corner route I saw him hit Brandon Manus on for a touchdown. And the most recent 7-on-7 we had at home. I see a lot of potential in Fisher, and conversations I've had with you, I think you've told me he is a very willing learner, and he's kind of got that element of a quarterback that you need of he's not afraid to make a mistake.
Absolutely. Obviously, he doesn't want to let his teammates down, but he realizes that the game is impossible to play perfectly. He makes mistakes, learns from them, and just moves on. And I feel like that's a great quality to have, like you're saying. But yeah, the 7-on-7 times have been good for me to continue to evaluate where's his comfort level and throwing our guys. He's a really good intermediate thrower. Like he's got a good trajectory and layering those throws in that 15 to 25 yard range. That's some of his best throws. So trying to cater our passing game and get as many things geared into his comfort zone and what his skill set is what we're working on honing in right now with him.
Something that a thought that I had, and you would be the best testament to this. He kind of reminds me, just from a physical maturity standpoint, a little bit of you. You made a huge leap between your sophomore and junior year. You were a little undersized. You were kind of a late bloomer. And then all of a sudden you just kind of popped like, in my head, I still think of freshman Fisher. He was very undersized, not very big. And all of a sudden he looks much older. He looks more physically mature. And he is a guy who has really developed. Like, we were talking about him and I started looking at pictures of him. I'm like, man, he's really filled out. And
Yeah.
he's taken a big step physically in the weight program this off season. So yeah, that's really stuck out to me. He looks like he's ready to play varsity football now.
Yeah, and he really embodies everything that we push through our 12-month program in terms of the weight room and the speed work that we do, because everything he does drill wise, he does, we use the word intent and purpose. He's got great intent and great purpose with everything he does. And it shows up with, you know, people like you that are really close to the program, but even people that may not be really close to the program, but just have seen him, they notice those things and they must know, man, he must be doing what he's supposed to be doing. And it shows up.
Offensively and defensively, kind of looking at what we've got coming back. Really optimistic about the linebacker position. Got a few pieces back in the secondary on defense as well. Offensively, we've got guys that are going to play both ways at the skilled position, but got a lot of guys back that have started and played a lot of snaps for us. Looking here at what we've got listed on our roster, got 13 seniors, another solid senior sized senior class for the second year in a row. So, the guys that we've got coming back that have been key contributors. We know Tyler Douglas. We just had him to kind of kick off our player spotlight series a couple of weeks ago. The stats for Tyler, and we'll talk about him throughout the offseason, but over 2,000 all-purpose yards. I was talking to you about it a couple of weeks ago when I started kind of breaking down a career perspective. You know what you're going to get out of him, and we're excited to see what he can build on here as a senior. But there's a couple of guys who came on in the back half of the year last year, really started to emerge as offensive threats. Wyatt Mann and Brody Howell come to mind, and you're really excited, I know, to kind of tailor your offense and involve them more featured in the game plan here.
Yeah, and that's the conversation we've had as a coaching staff that, as we come back in July and start to get a little more what looks like actual football, when we're getting into more team stuff than we have so far, those guys got to understand this isn't an unrealistic pressure statement to give to them. But like, look, boys, the game's going to be won and lost on the offensive side with you. Like we're every week when we sit down, the play menu is centered around your skill set. We're getting you the ball. You got to go out there and make the play. So that's exactly where we are, because we know what they can do. We know what their skill set is, and they got to touch it, and they got to make it happen.
Speaking of Wyatt, looking over at the defensive side of the ball, we've traditionally run that 3-4 defense over the last few years, or most of the time that Ricky Holiday has been here as defensive coordinator. And we got all 4 linebackers back this year. We got 4 senior linebackers. They've all been highly successful in their own right. River Choate, kind of just a guy who seems to be in the right place a lot, makes a lot of key tackles. Branson Lowry, who is one of the fastest linebackers, I think, in the entire region, maybe even in north of Atlanta. I think he's one of the most athletic linebackers that you'll see in the northern part of the state here this year. Excited for him. He broke the school record for tackles for loss in a single game and for a single season with his effort and against Ringgold to close out the year. He was just our most recent player in our player spotlight series. And then Big Luke Turner, who he's big, but don't let his speed deceive you. He looks like a freight train coming down the field when he comes after you, and he's kind of spotted some on the defensive line as well. And then Wyatt Mann, this is a special group and a talented group who will carry our defense this year.
Yeah, they're going to have to, because the defensive line lost what we know they lost. So it may be more of a committee group with those 3 spots up front, especially early on as the season goes, before we kind of figure out what our rotation might be. So those guys are going to have to carry the load, not only physically, but mentally too, helping some of those younger, inexperienced guys up front, getting lined up. I know you've said as much as we kind of shift those guys around and stem our front, that all has to be communicated from our linebackers. So they got to do a great job there of getting strengths called in, getting things communicated to them. So they've got a load on them, not only physically and making the plays, but they got to be able to handle it mentally too, to be able to set us up for success. But, almost all those guys that you mentioned too are going to have to probably play. We obviously talked about White on the offensive side of the ball, but all those guys are going to have to play a little bit bigger role offensively, whether it be just personnel packages or spot playing. So we've got to have some guys be able to give us some depth behind them as well, so that we're making sure we're keeping them fresh. That way, when they're in the game, it's impact plays and they're not just out there surviving because they're so tired.
Yeah, that's when the Pedialyte that Coach E likes to get all the two-way players before the game.
Yeah.
That'll come in handy this year. Coach, I did want to mention a new addition to our staff, Coach Chandler Jackson, who has come in from working with the Murray County or North Murray High School and Bagley Middle School football programs. He'll be joining the team as our varsity fullbacks coach, and he'll also be the middle school offensive line coach. I know he was really excited. Always love his parents seemed to be almost as more excited than he did based off the social media reaction. They were really proud and happy for him to be at the Creek, and we're excited to have him as an addition to the staff.
Absolutely. And hiring in high school is kind of a enigma, really, because you've got football needs and then you have teaching openings. So it's like fitting different pieces of the puzzle together. And he was able to check those boxes for us. And you're always fortunate enough when that happens, when you get a guy such high quality character and somebody that's excited to be here and excited to learn and already brings a good deal of knowledge like he's done too. He's a young, energetic guy that's passionate about the sport and really loves being around our guys and being a positive male role model to them. So he's been with us, I guess, about a month now, and he's already making good strides with it. I think we had talked, maybe it was on camera, maybe it was not on camera, but, Coach Dan Tierney was handling our tight ends and fullbacks. Last year, as the season went on, we've already mentioned Brody Howell. His skill set is pretty unique at that fullback spot. And the tight end and fullback positions just got more and more different as the season went on. So it was really difficult to plan that in practice. So the fact that we're able to get a guy devoted to what all we're asking our fullback to do, I think is going to be a valuable asset to our offense.
Yeah, excited to have him a part of the staff. And, I haven't played both those positions. There is some overlap, but if you've got a guy with a skill set unique enough, there is a need to kind of separate them. So I certainly see that. Did want to know one of our favorite coaches did move on. Coach Shamar Collier, he's now at Thomas County Central. Took his stepson Tyler, or I guess his stepson was Elijah. He took his son Tyler Collier with him down there. So that was a sad loss from that perspective, but we wish him the best of luck moving on to a really quality football program with Thomas County Central. So I can't blame him for taking that leap there. But that's what opened the position up here for Coach Jackson to jump under our staff. Quickly, before we sign off here, I want to run through some kind of the schedule for the rest of the summer. You talked about how we got Dead Week coming up. We got a few more 7-on-7s. We got some padded camps coming up, or a padded camp, I think, coming up. We may have more than one. And then we've got our youth camp, and then that'll lead us all the way up to kickoff at the Creek.
Yeah, we'll get back in it. We'll, like we mentioned earlier, basketball and baseball is kind of shut down once we come back from that. So we'll add. We've just been going 3 days a week in June, like we always do. But we'll add a fourth day into our weekly schedule. Get a few more reps throughout the week. We'll hit a 7-on-7 that very first week. At the end of that very first week when we come back, and then the end of the second week is when we'll hit that padded camp. So good measures of where we are, and that'll give us a couple of weeks getting into acclimation and then putting the pads on. And I really like how our schedule does fall this year as far as the preseason stuff goes. How we're able to do our kids camp, and I think the final day of kids camp that morning, and then we come back and do kickoff at the creek. So we want to make sure those kids, hey, come back tonight because we're going to let you lead us out onto the field for our scrimmage. So that's always an exciting time. Start bringing the community together, and I've already talked to our band director Sam Dodge. They're already planning a little mock performance to get their feet wet too. So it's a great community event.
Yeah, really excited about that kickoff at the Creek. This will be, I believe, our fourth annual that we've done,
Yep.
and it's really turned into a great community event. Seen a couple of emails come through. There's still time to get involved from a corporate sponsorship standpoint if you're interested in that. Season tickets will go on sale to the general public beginning Tuesday, July 7th. So be looking for that. We did have an increase in our price this year, but that includes something new that Coach Carter told me about. So for $125, you'll get 2 tickets, a parking pass, a program, and new this year, a cowbell.
Yeah, and these are like apparently the big ones with the big handles, so you can really get
like
some
Mississippi State level.
Yeah. So apparently you're supposed to really be able to get some leverage on these things and really bang those things. So we're expecting it to be loud at the Creek this year. That's the whole goal of the quarterback club, and that was their vision when we started that process. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, so that's what's coming up here. Just a lot of stuff to kind of, as I mentioned, ripen the appetite as we lead up to kickoff. First chance you get to see our Colts in varsity action will be August the 7th at Ray County and their jamboree. We're about, I guess, what would that be? 44 days, I think 44 days away from that. Then we'll be at Dalton High School, or I should say at Dalton. We'll be at Harmon Field for preseason game number 2. And then we get it going with the Northwest Whitfield Bruins at home on August 21st. So probably the next time you'll see us, it'll be more of a season preview edition as we have done. We did kind of the I don't know, a county fair. It might be the best term for that. I did my rounds with all the assistant coaches as well as Coach Carter for a YouTube series last year, and we'll do something similar again this year for all of our coaches previewing their individual positions when we kind of start to get everything ramped up for the season in August. So, Coach, thank you for your time today. This has been another edition of CreekCast. We'll see you in August as we get ready for the football season. Thanks for tuning in, guys.